Welcome to Taiwan Report News Brief Inauguration Special. That's the only thing we're going to talk about today, so let's dive right in. President Tsai has been inaugurated for her second term, joined by William Lai, inaugurated as vice president for the first time. Due to the coronavirus, the event was low-key. KMT Chairman Johnny Chang, ex-President Ma Ying-jeou, and Kaohsiung Mayor Han Kuo-yu all skipped the event. New Taipei Mayor Hou You-yi and Taichung Mayor Liu Xiuyan did show up, with Mayor Liu appearing to have done so more reluctantly. She had said she came to the decision after considerable deliberation to represent the 2.81 million people of Taichung. Ho, however, was much more positive on attending, saying individual or party affiliation wasn't important, unity was important, and that the inauguration of the president is an important national event. Interestingly, Ho posted a pic on Instagram of him posing with some other mayors, including Taichung's Liu, Taipei's Ke, and Taoyuan's mayor, DPP mayor, Zheng Wencan, and even more interesting was the photo credit he thoughtfully added, Dragon for People. Dragon for People, if you don't know, is the Instagram handle for Transport Minister Lin Jialong of the DPP, who apparently took the picture for them. Some foreign luminaries also attended, but more sent theirs in digitally. In all, 92 dignitaries sent their congratulations. As for the content of the president's speech, the bulk of it essentially laid out how her administration plans to continue on various initiatives they started in their first term. However, a few things really jumped out. Searching the Chinese language version, I discovered that she said Taiwan or Taiwanese 50 times, but used Republic of China only 5 times. Very interestingly, she kicked off her conclusion by saying, quote, "My fellow citizens, over the past 70 years, the Republic of China Taiwan has grown more resilient and unified through countless challenges. We have resisted the pressure of aggression and annexation." That is a fascinating statement. 70 years ago is 1950, which is definitely not when the ROC was founded, and a few years after the ROC arrived in Taiwan. So what is she referring to over the past 70 years? Well, 2 possibilities come to mind. Perhaps she's referring to the practical end of the Chinese Civil War, which generally is stated to have ended in 1949, when the communists established their capital in Beijing, and when the KMT brought over the corpse of the Republic of China to Taiwan. But in reality, fighting in China continued into the early 1950s. The other possibility is the Treaty of San Francisco, which officially ended Japan's sovereignty over Taiwan. That was signed in 1951 and went into effect in 1952. Or she could be referring to both. Now, what's important about this, and I do think it is relevant she kicked off her conclusion with this, is that it appears she's laying the groundwork for defining Taiwan's statehood differently. Her use of Republic of China Taiwan is clever, and famously said on BBC that Taiwan doesn't need to declare independence. Taiwan is already an independent country. In short, she's bypassing the whole Republic of China versus Republic of Taiwan debate by forging a new Republic of China-Taiwan path. It appears she's now defining the Republic of China-Taiwan as coming into existence at the dawn of the 1950s and as an entity distinct from the earlier Republic of China, whose capital was in Nanjing. Now that's clever. The Taiwan's status under the Treaty of San Francisco, officially at least in the eyes of many countries like the U.S., became undetermined because while in the treaty Japan renounced sovereignty over Taiwan, the treaty did not specify where Taiwan's sovereignty did lie. This smells a bit like the president may be using Republic of China Taiwan to answer that question. I'll be watching this very closely to see if that is indeed what she's up to. Another area that really caught my attention is the section on national security. In her speech, she said, quote, "We have 3 important directions for our national defense reforms. First is accelerating the development of our asymmetrical capabilities." After going into some detail on that, she continues, The second is substantive reforms to our military reserve and mobilization systems. We need to enhance the quality of our reserve forces, as well as their weapons, equipment, and training in order to achieve effective jointness with our regular forces. Well, I'm no military expert. This sounds very much like she's been listening to the kind of advice I've been hearing coming out of the United States. I've heard military analysts say very similar things to this. Now, in her first term, though she did raise military spending, she fell far short on her promise to boost spending to 3% of GDP. With many of the big issues of her first term out of the way, she may spend more of her second tackling this issue. She also had some interesting things to say on relations with China. And I quote, "In the face of complex and changing cross-strait circumstances, we have made the greatest effort to maintain peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait over the past 4 years, gaining approval from the international community. We will continue these efforts, and we are willing to engage in dialogue with China and make more concrete contributions to regional security." Here, I want to reiterate the words peace, parity, democracy, and dialogue. We will not accept the Beijing authorities' use of one country, two systems to downgrade Taiwan and undermine the cross-strait status quo. We stand fast by this principle. Okay, so this is very carefully crafted and will likely be welcomed by key international players like the US and Japan as being very reasonable and moderate. Of course, China doesn't like it one bit, and they've already responded in the People's Daily. Ma Xiaoguang, a spokesperson for China's Taiwan Affairs Office, said, quote, "We uphold the fundamental guideline of peaceful reunification and one country, two systems. And we are willing to create vast space for peaceful reunification, but we will definitely not leave any room for separatist activities aimed at Taiwan independence in any form." Now, President Tsai continued in her speech saying, quote, "We will continue to handle cross-strait affairs according to the Constitution of the Republic of China and the Act governing relations between the people of the Taiwan area and the mainland area. This has been our consistent position for maintaining the peaceful and stable status quo in the Taiwan Strait." Now, she said something similar in her first inauguration and is doubling down on it. The part about the act governing relations between the people of the Taiwan area and the mainland area has already drawn outcry from the Taiwan State Building Party, the New Power Party, as well as other Taiwan independence activists. Now, that act still defines unification as a national goal, and a DPP lawmaker introduced a bill to remove it, but clearly was pressured by the party the other day to drop it. Now, the TSP, the Taiwan State Building Party, is going to introduce a new bill. The Taiwan People's Party has already said they support the concept, and the NPP will almost certainly be on board as well. Now, the question is, what will the DPP do? So, in her speech, the president continued, quote, "Cross-strait relations have reached a historical turning point. Both sides have a duty to find a way to coexist over the long term and prevent the intensification of antagonism and differences. Faced with changing circumstances, I will hold firm to my principles, adopt an open attitude to resolve issues, and shoulder my responsibilities as president. I also hope that the leader on the other side of the strait will take on the same responsibility and work with us to jointly stabilize the long-term development of cross-strait relations." Again, this is very carefully worded and puts the responsibility for poor relationships firmly on the Chinese side. Now, another thing that caught my attention. The president also added this to her speech. Quote, "While we work to achieve national development, it is crucial that we optimize our government institutions over the next 4 years. Our legislative yuan will establish a constitutional amendment committee, giving us a platform to engage in dialogue and reach a consensus on constitutional reforms pertaining to government systems and people's rights. This democratic process will enable the constitutional system to progress with the times and align with the values of Taiwanese society. Our first priority should be to lower the voting age from 20 to 18, an issue on which both the majority and opposition parties are in agreement. Okay. A constitutional amendment committee is potentially a huge deal, or not. Depends entirely on what she has in mind for it to discuss. If it is limited to just the voting age, then it's a fairly small deal. However, already within hours of her speech, all sorts of calls for major changes or even writing a whole new constitution have appeared. This is something to watch carefully going forward. Many of the responses from dignitaries were from a range of U.S. figures in government and elected officials. However, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee tweeted out the following: "Congratulations to Dr. Ing-wen," that's her Twitter handle, "on the start of her second term. Taiwan's thriving democracy and response to COVID-19 are an example to the world. America's support for Taiwan must remain strong, principled, and bipartisan." Doctor? Why didn't he use president as her title? Meanwhile, more significantly, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo issued a statement which included this: "As we look forward to the future, I am confident that with President Tsai at the helm, our partnership with Taiwan will continue to flourish. Best wishes for a successful second term." This appears to be the first time a Secretary of State has issued such a statement. Usually in past is a lower-ranked official, like an assistant secretary. Now, China's foreign ministry said Pompeo's act, by which they mean his issuing a statement directly from the Secretary of State, had severely damaged peace and stability in the strait between Taiwan and China. It warned it would take necessary countermeasures and the U.S. would have to bear the consequence. China's Global Times came out with a tweet saying, quote, "The U.S. and Taiwan want to play petty tricks at a low cost, which is too naive. We will make them feel pain in some places that they can't think of." Well, on that pleasant thought, let's end the show. Be sure to hit like and subscribe and tune in tomorrow. And you can find lots of articles on report.tw.
This has been brought to you by the Taiwan Report. For more content like this, become our patron at report.tw.
哎呦，就是那个台湾狗啦，最喜欢我的台湾狗了。